Police are still trying to figure out exactly what happened, but witnesses say they saw two cars flying down Corby Boulevard, and one lost control and then slammed right into the house here. Now, friends, family, and neighbors are trying to wrap their heads around this sad and crazy accident.
My heart goes out to the family. My heart really goes out to the family.
Michelle Cephas says she's in awe, angry about the scene that unfolded right across the street from her house early this morning.
When I ran down the street, it was nothing but a big puff of smoke.
Underneath all of the rubble, firefighters found the body of Barbara Knapp, but it was so badly damaged they couldn't get a positive ID for hours. We know the 57-year-old lived here alone with her two dogs. One pup was missing, but later reunited with Knapp's son. Sadly, the other dog died.
When they brought that dog out, it was a big orange mango mess. It's unbelievable. And if the dog looked like that, oh my God. Oh my God.
It's tragic. The one place you ought to be safe is in your house. And to have this happen at this time of the night, it's sort of disheartening. It's sad. You should be safe in your house.
Sergeant Bill Krause says police are still interviewing witnesses and tracing the tire tracks. You can see some in the mud, etched deep into the grass of the front yard.
I'm not a structural engineer, but it took quite a bit of force to do that.
Now the house will come crashing down altogether, and McCaffrey is facing some serious charges.
You killed somebody. It's not right. It's not right at all.
Now, witnesses say drag racing may be involved, but officers are still investigating. Crews will be back here to finish demolishing the house early next week. In the meantime, Knapp's family and friends will continue to move her stuff out. In South Bend, Ashley Izbicki, ABC 57 News. There's not a lot of damage to the outside of this building, but right through these doors, it's a whole different story. The owner says he had actually thought someone had broken in until he got here and saw flames right inside.
Oh my God, this is pretty deep.
Beer cans float on the flooded floors, and a burnt leather jacket lays wadded up in the corner.
There's a lot of history in this place.
A.J. Rodino says the family-owned business is more than a liquor store. It's a museum filled with memorabilia from nearly 4 decades of coaching.
See against the wall there, all those brown things, those were pictures of kids that I coach. That hurts me more than anything else, is losing all this stuff that you build for 37 years.
Some stuff is salvageable, but even his inventory is taking a hard hit.
Beer gets a certain temperature, especially you're talking over 200 degrees at least. I mean, that's gonna be a problem.
Daryl Dominic has worked with the Rodinos for the past 2 years. He rushed to the scene when he heard fire trucks were outside the store this morning.
I thought it was going to be something small.
Instead, the intense heat melted pictures, and smoke ruined keepsakes throughout the entire building. Until this place is cleaned up, the store will stay closed to the community.
Sure, you got insurance and everything, but you know, your customers, they go somewhere else. That's tough. I mean, we got to get all that back.
We're together here every day. This is the only thing we know, and this is the only thing we want to know.
So while a 1968 state championship sweater may be history, Rodino says they'll mop up the water and make new memories to hang on the walls.
We're workers. That's what Rodinos are.
Now, investigators are going to look through surveillance tapes from 19 cameras inside to try and pinpoint the exact cause, but at this point it sounds like it could be an electrical fire. The Rodinos say they just hope to get these doors back open to customers within a week. In Elkhart, Ashley Izbicki, ABC 57 News. 2 men, 17 and 19 years old, were shot near this intersection this morning. The crime scene tape is now gone, but marks of evidence are still on the ground. And for the woman who lives here, it's another nightmare right in her front yard.
The car comes up, just pow, 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 pow.
Michelle Shepard was asleep early this morning when this scene unfolded right outside of her house.
The guys that actually got shot, I know all 3 of them.
She says they were leaving a party and walking down California Street when the gunfire erupted.
I see this black car come down the street here, and I hear gunshots. 2, then like 3 more go off. And I heard the guy say, "I've been hit, I've been hit, I've been shot."
She rushed around the corner to find a 17-year-old lying on the ground, covered in blood.
We couldn't tell where he was shot at. He was just bleeding furiously out the mouth and his nose. He couldn't even respond to anything.
Metro homicide detectives were at the scene for hours. Investigators marked the blood spots on the ground. You can still see the bright orange paint.
He was falling, he was losing consciousness. So his friend grabbed him and he fell over here. This is where he fell, his body lay here.
And he wasn't the only victim. A 19-year-old also got hit with a bullet and ran down Allen Street.
4 or 5 houses down, shot also. Where was the police at?
That's the same question Shepard asked nearly 2 years ago when she was shot on her own front porch.
2 boys started shooting and shot me. I got shot in the right leg.
Crime scene tape is still tied around the railing on her back porch. She says now she's paranoid and always warns her neighbors to be careful.
It's scary, and I just wish they would do something.
Now, police say this double shooting might be connected to the shootings at the Century Center last weekend, since one of the victims was at that teen dance. Shepard says it all comes down to unresolved problems between groups of friends, and it needs to stop. In South Bend, Ashley Izbicki, ABC 57 News. The father I talked to says he paid nearly $500 to send his 14-year-old son to camp here and to spend the night. He says at the very least, someone should have called him.
To hear from your child that he's going to the hospital and nobody's calling, it's kind of frustrating.
Jim Bruin drove in from the Chicago area to pick up his son from football camp this morning.
Natural instinct as a parent is to come and be with your child and help him out and be there for him and hold his hand. And it was like, well, what do we do?
He says he didn't know anything until his phone buzzed with more text messages from his son, Sean. And being 100 miles away made things even worse.
He didn't even really tell us what hospital. He told us what hospital through the text. And so it was like, well, what do we do? We were up like all night just wondering about him.
Sean is okay, but he couldn't even have fun on his last day of camp after a long, stomach-churning night at the hospital.
He's back here this morning, but he had words that I can't say how he feels now, but he's sitting out everything. He said he's wiped out, he's tapped.
Bruin says when he called St. Joseph Regional Medical Center, staff there told him since he signed a release with Notre Dame, they couldn't give him any information. But Bruin says as a parent, you should always have a right to know if your child is in the hospital.
I would just generally feel as though somebody from the camp would at least let you know what your kid's doing, because he's a minor. He doesn't know what's right for him or wrong.
Now, the university did eventually send out a letter to the parents of the students impacted. That includes not only campers here for football, but also hockey, as well as women's basketball, lacrosse, and tennis. Reporting at the University of Notre Dame, Ashley Izbicki, ABC 57 News. There's a lot of excitement and anticipation here at the Aquatic Center. Swimmers I talked to say it's not just about making Team USA, but also about beating their personal best at a meet they'll never forget.
We've been kind of training like professional athletes.
We're ready. I can tell that we're ready.
Freshman standouts Frank Dyer and Emma Reaney are putting everything they have into the water. Dyer's focusing on the 200 free. And for Reaney, it's all about the 200 individual medley. But this isn't her first time training for the trials.
When I walked in being that young and just like it's a spectacle. They put on a show, that's for sure.
At just 15 years old, Reaney swam her heart out to try and make the 2008 USA team.
I was a little starstruck as a 15-year-old, so walking in it was a little overwhelming. But I just think now I'll know the ropes, I'll know where to go, and it'll, be a little bit easier this time around.
I have goosebumps just talking about it, because there's no better place in America to be than Omaha, Nebraska.
Head coach Brian Barnes says he's keeping the women's team focused on swimming the way they've never swam before.
A lot of the athletes who make the Olympic team, who weren't projected to make the Olympic team, take the risk to do so.
And for the standout sophomores, it's all about risk, ambition, and courage. With each stroke, turn and breath.
Best times are definitely a hope. Winning heats and then maybe semis. Making it back to semis would be really awesome.
This is going to be a big meet in USA swimming history. Really one of the most exciting times of our life, and we'll remember it for a long time.
Now, roughly 20 swimmers from the Notre Dame teams will be competing against stars like Michael Phelps starting June 25th in Omaha. They say there's no better place to be in the days leading up to 4th of July than with the best swimmers in the country competing for a spot on Team USA. Reporting at the University of Notre Dame, Ashley Izbicki, ABC 57 News.